Welcome to the Flooring Podcast with Mike Harris, the show where we cover new construction, restoration, and everything to do with flooring in commercial construction. Now here's your host, Mike Harris.
Thank you, Producer Dave. We're at the Pod 617 podcast studio in Westwood, Massachusetts. Producer Dave is with us, and our guest today is Daniel McCarthy. Daniel, good morning.
Morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very welcome. Thanks for coming in. Daniel works for Allegheny Contract Flooring, a very large union flooring contractor in the Boston market. Dan and I have been working together over the last 10 years or so, Dan?
About that.
Yeah. 10 years or so, Dan. And Dan's got a pretty good story. Kind of almost got into this business the same way I did. We were both in marketing and took a job in the construction business and never left.
Never looked back. Yeah.
Never looked back. So, Dan, why don't you fill us in a little bit about that and how you got involved in this business?
Sure. Yeah, I was in the marketing business, kind of the dinosaur ages of direct mail and things of that nature. So that was kind of
direct mail, huh?
Yeah, it was real fun stuff. Yeah. And started shifting more to the digital form of marketing, online and social. Didn't really want to get into that aspect of it, and had an opportunity to get into a small flooring company and do a little bit of sales, do a little operational stuff, and I didn't know what would come of it, and now I'm here. So it was a good move at the time, and learned a lot of things along the way. So it worked out well.
Yeah, I kind of started the same way. Out of school, took a job at a through-wall flashing company, which was part of it still is part of masonry.
Sure, yeah.
And morphed into this job or that job. It's still in that field, and like I said, never left.
Never left.
Y'all from Springfield?
I am from the Springfield
Western
area.
Mass?
True Western Mass.
Western Mass. And you started in this business, a small epoxy company in the non-union field, correct?
I did, yeah, in the Springfield area, in the Western Mass market. Yeah, small non-union epoxy company. Then we shifted into more of the polished concrete segment. Got into the union, started subbing. Some of the bigger players in the Boston market started subbing to us. So eventually made the move into the union market.
And that was probably 15 years ago?
Yeah, probably closer to 10, 12-ish years.
Okay.
Yeah, timeline's always a little fuzzy, but
right. And I think at that time, a lot of the union guys weren't doing their own epoxies.
Some were, some weren't. I think it was small at best. There were a few companies like Business Interiors, Allegheny. They were self-performing for the most part, but some of the other companies in the market weren't. So it was a great opportunity at the time to provide a segment of the business that they weren't hyper focusing on. So it was a great piece to add to their book.
And I think back then the resinous flooring market was kind of expanding.
Sure,
it's rising into urethane cements and things of that nature.
Urethane
correct?
cements, life science was kind of on the verge of obviously becoming very big in the Boston Cambridge market. So, and urethane cements, to your point, really kind of revolutionized and changed the resinous market. So,
right.
Yeah.
So you were doing a little work for the union guys, and you became union yourself at that point, correct?
Yeah, in order to come in and be a sub for these union contractors, we had to essentially make a decision to join the carpenters union at that point, 2168. And that was just a pre-requirement that if we wanted to do that work or stay, we kind of at that point we were either going to stay small, stay in that Western Mass market, or we're going to expand and join the union. And it's one or the other. You can't do both.
Can't do both.
So that was the decision we made at the time. We started working for a lot of the major companies in the market.
You're right. And then you what made you jump to? You went to work for Pavilion.
I did.
That was your first venture into, let's call it Boston.
Sure. Yeah.
With the Pavilion obviously being another very large union house. And now when you went there, did you go to run that division right away, or?
Yeah, it was. So we were doing a lot of work for Pavilion at the time,
Yeah.
and I think for them it made sense to bring somebody in house and somebody they were working with closely already.
Yeah.
I think it just rather than go to the well, right? So we sat down, we worked out a deal, made sense to come in and kind of spearhead that division, and we did great things at Pavilion. We started from very small and built it up, built the whole thing up.
Right, and the systems that you guys in that division worked with, obviously urethane, cement, resinous. What other systems were you getting involved with?
Resinous toppings. I think that's when
we got together with the Ardex toppings. Yep.
Yeah, we started to talk about those, and I think at that time we're really talking about a smaller market share for the toppings. Yep. It was a lot of traditional polished concrete. I think everyone wanted that traditional polished concrete, but once you actually, it's eye of the beholder type of thing. So you and I talked and got into the toppings, and so we expanded into that, which was that's a different animal in itself, right? So,
well, you guys were polishing regular concrete, correct?
Yeah, which are two different things, and I think,
really big two different things.
Yeah, and so the pour and polish, there are a lot of different aspects to that segment of the business that require equipment, manpower, skill, different things that not anything that's out in the stratosphere, but different, right? We had to train differently. We did a lot of training with Ardex at the time, and we did a lot of larger projects at that time that for the Northeast. That
absolutely one that two that come to mind right away is the high school down the Cape. Was it a high school or middle school down the Cape? It
was a regional school. I think it was a mix. It's one of those junior high, junior and high school. Yeah, Dennis-Yarmouth regional.
Brand new school.
Brand new school. Yeah. They
white.
The white brings back very anxious memories. Yeah.
White floors are problematic in the Northeast,
as we tried to explain.
Yeah,
but I think
came out unbelievable.
And again, it was probably one of the larger jobs at the time in the Northeast.
Absolutely,
and we had to kind of learn, train on the fly. Which, again, Ardex really helped out with. A couple people come to mind. Craig Morris.
Spent a lot of time down there.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Hilton, the distributor, spent a lot of time down there making sure we had plenty of product because there was a lot of parts and pieces to that. You were adding extra stone to the product?
Stone. Yeah, there was a matrix mix of
stone mix, right.
Of stone. And we had to find that sweet spot, whether it's 30 pounds to a 50-pound bag. And we had to, and really it was all R&D at that point.
Yep.
And it was having material at the ready. I think the white, the 530.
Yeah,
it was new to the market. It didn't even have a bag.
Yeah.
There wasn't even an official bag.
It was new to the market. The architect loved it, specified it, and you guys got the job and pulled it off. To good for you. You guys did a great job.
Pulled it off. It was a team effort, as it always is, right?
As it always is. It's not one person or one company involved in making this thing happen. It's everyone involved making it happen.
Yeah, from our distributor partners, our manufacturer partners, training, all of it. I think in a very short time we were ready to
happen.
And that wouldn't have happened without everybody involved.
So. Absolutely. And the second one that comes to mind, which is people might know out there, is the view on the top of the Prudential building.
The old top of the hub.
The old top of the hub is right. Yeah, all that polished concrete floor that everybody's looking at walking on is actually a polished concrete topping.
And we kept hearing about this Ardex rep. I don't know. The Ardex rep's been here a million times.
That's right. That actually started during COVID. I remember seeing Turner Construction on that job during COVID, where you only could walk here and you could only go there, and it probably 2.5 years later we were finally installing it.
We were there, and that was many site visits, you and I.
Many site visits, is right, and now they charge you to go up there to look at that floor.
I think it's a $70 bill to go up there.
Wow, wow. Yeah. I mean, again, team effort from the architect to Turner, to you, to us, Ardex, to
there was you, and then Hilton, the Phantom Ardex rep. We still don't know who that was. So it was somebody up there, though.
So and again, pulling that all off is very difficult.
It is.
It really is, and it takes a lot of preparation. Takes a lot of days putting it all together with meetings and stuff. And again, you guys, to your best attributes, did a great job.
Well, you said the right word, preparation, right?
Yeah.
It takes so much to get to these projects, and without the proper planning and preparation, we're just. And again, that takes everybody. It takes the whole village. It takes all of our partners, everybody involved.
Right.
And I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle that we all have to remember.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other things in division or part of your division is surface prep.
Sure.
You on a job like that, they had multiple stuff on that floor. They had slate, they had tile, they had concrete.
Floating floor. At one
floating
point,
floors. There's a lot of different stuff.
The moon, we dubbed it. I think we dubbed it the moon at one point.
That's right. There were so many craters. Talk a little bit about your surface prep, shot blasting, grinding, and the development of diamonds over the years.
Sure, yeah. So surface prep being, again, back to preparation, one of the most important pieces of what we do. Getting that substrate to a point where it can accept material and it's going to be installed to manufacturers' recommendations and standards. And over the years, and diamond tooling has always been on the forefront of that, whether it be shot blasting or actually planetary grinding, which we do a lot of. We use a lot of diamonds, a lot of equipment that goes into that type of preparation. So, and it's really evolved over the years. I mean, now we have ceramic hybrid tooling that it just, you're doing 2-3 steps in a pass.
Right, no more metal, no more cutting.
Well, we use
digging up floors.
We use a lot of metal. We still use a lot of metal, but it's especially in the Boston market. We walk into a different situation on every job, right?
Yeah.
And whether you're downtown on a 100-year-old slab or a 60-year-old slab or new concrete, and believe it or not, the new concrete, the stuff that looks like this table, that's harder to cut than anything at this point. It's burnished, it's overly trawled. So we walk into so many different situations, which is another reason why some of the topping slab stuff is just a better fit. You shot blast, you pour, that's always the same, right, for the most part. And then we're processing that slab, which, depending on the polymers and the product and how hard that actually cures out, or to what PSI that's curing out, you're just met with so many different aspects of and we have a full cage that just has every diamond you can possibly think of at any given time that we might need.
Right, and those have to get to the job.
They have to get to the job.
Whether it's night, whether it's day, and obviously you guys do a lot of nighttime stuff because of shutdowns and things of that nature.
Me too.
You own the floor at that point, and nobody else can be there.
That's right, and so you have to show up. You have to show up ready to do the job, whatever that might be, and you can visit the site a million times before that. Until you cut into that slab, you have no idea what you're actually working with. We have an idea, but nothing foolproof until we start turning that machine on.
I always say that you guys that are doing polished concrete or polished toppings, each job is like going to school, taking another course. You got to figure out what blades, what diamonds are going to work on this substrate here today.
Sometimes you feel like every job's your first job, just because you're learning so much, so many new things and again, we walk in with a really good idea of what we're walking into, but you just don't know until. Yeah,
it's a big learning curve. Now, so roughly 5 years ago or so, you make a decision to leave Pavilion and go work for Allegheny. Now, was Pavilion, were they part of Diversify at that time?
So they had it was about a year into the acquisition.
Okay.
And for various reasons, I think it was time to move on.
Good opportunity.
Great opportunity. Yeah. I jumped at the chance to work for Allegheny. I have always heard great things as they were obviously a competitor at the time.
And at that time, Allegheny's starting to go through a little transition.
Sure. Yeah. We had a change. Dan Auditorio, who you had on,
a great guest on our podcast.
Great. That was a great segment. So Dan was kind of transitioning more into the day-to-day CEO role, and a man by the name of Jim Burke was transitioning out. Yep. So I came in during that time, which was it was a great time to get to know Dan, great time to get to know Jim. It was a great transition period.
Well, obviously you got accepted by both.
I did. I did.
That's a good thing.
I think I met with both before I actually came on board. So that was an interesting process, because again, it transitions. It's not that it was hard, but there's always bumps and bruises along the way. So it was great. I came in and worked with another gentleman who you know well, Chris Hand.
Chris Hand was getting ready to retire, and it was a great opportunity for you. Chris had run that division for 15, 20 years?
I would say at least 15, if not longer.
And during that time, they brought the Crete truck in, Supercap 2.
We have two Supercap
Crete trucks, and obviously Chris must have been a huge part of that.
He helped he did. He built that whole program up at Allegheny, which is proprietary, and he kind of ran with it. And I was very excited to work with Chris, and glad I got to spend. And learned. I mean, That kind of knowledge is just,
Right.
you can't teach that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just to come in and work with someone who's just done so much in the industry. So I was very excited for that.
Yeah.
And we actually we're still working together on a few projects.
Oh, really? Still finishing up?
Yeah, we're still closing up. So we still talk here and there, which is good. And I pick his brain a little bit.
Tell him I said hi.
I will.
Please. Yes.
I will.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll be on here at some point.
Yeah, he reached out to me this past winter. I was in Florida. He was coming through Florida, and we chatted a little bit, which was great.
Yeah.
It was great to hear from him. So at this transition time when you go to Allegheny, obviously it's a big transition for your family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know you have a young daughter, Danny. Who's she named after anyway?
Well, not actually me, believe it or not.
No, I thought she was.
We very much like the idea of a Danny or Charlie or something along those lines. So it was more that decision than it was than actually named after me. So
And how old is she now?
she's 5.
Five.
She
Wow.
turned 5 in October. Yeah.
Right. Seems like she was just born.
Yeah, and she'll be 15 next week. So yeah, it's a fun process.
Does she run the house?
She absolutely runs the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, her and my wife both run the house, but yeah, Danny definitely has the last say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, you're from Springfield. You're still living in Springfield?
No, so about halfway through working at Pavilion, we moved mid-state. We moved to the Worcester area.
Okay, yeah.
Which is Western Mass to most Eastern Mass people.
Right. Commute must have been rough going to Springfield.
Commute was extremely rough, but we didn't have Danny at the time,
Yeah.
so there was the opportunity. I stayed a few nights here and there,
Yeah.
and it worked out. But that was a rough fight, and that was when traffic patterns were somewhat predictable.
Yeah.
Now you can't make heads or tails.
yeah.
So that was at any given day probably a 3 to 4 hour commute. But
Wow.
yeah, it was rough. So we decided to move, kind of split the difference, and we moved to the Worcester area. So
That's great, and make your life a little easier. Getting back to the other things that your department does, I know you do moisture mitigation, you do polishing, you do polish toppings, you do the urethane cements, you do the floor prep,
Yeah,
you do the Supercap truck. How often is the Supercap truck on the road? Is it out there daily? Is it going to one job, 2 jobs? Talk about the Supercap truck a little more.
So the great thing about that and the footprint of the
I should say the 2 Supercap trucks.
Supercap trucks.
Yeah.
So to have them out on a weekly basis, say all week, that would be almost impossible, right? There's a pour day for every job, that 3 to 4 to 5 days of prep lead up to that pour day, priming, mitigating, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So the truck itself is really only out for one day on that job or on that pour.
Yeah.
So, for example, you have a 15, 18-story tower. That truck's out there. If you're doing it sequentially every week, that truck's out there once a week usually. So right now we have both trucks kind of rotating in and out on a weekly basis, and both are out usually on a weekly basis.
Wow, that's great.
Which is great, yeah. And that's, we kind of had to scale, or we had to sit down and think of how we're going to move forward with Supercap, right? The buildings themselves aren't necessarily popping out of the ground anymore in the city. So we had to reformulate the whole Supercap program, which I think we've done pretty successfully.
Great.
Reached out to different markets, different process and procedure, not necessarily just this new construction approach, which has been working great, you know, and our customer base seems to be receptive, and it's working. So we have the trucks very much busy. That's a full-time job there, keeping those things going.
Well, plus you got to maintain them.
And you got to maintain them.
And with all the pieces of equipment you guys have, I mean, you basically need a shop to
we do, and we have
things going all the time.
And we do, and we have an in-house team that really keeps everything oiled and working, and that is.
Well, you got MacGyver over there, Scotty, right?
MacGyver, yeah, Scotty, and actually his son-in-law, a gentleman by the name of Dan.
Oh, really?
They keep things in top shape. So,
and of course, you guys are still using Ardex a lot, right?
We do.
That's good to hear.
We use a lot of Ardex.
Yeah.
We use a lot of Ardex. I would say Ardex and Laticrete are probably our primary two products that we put out there.
And also too, with some of the things that you guys do, and what I saw in my last, say, 5 years of work is a lot more thickness jobs, a lot more going 1 inch, 2 inch, adding stone, a lot more removal of stuff on the ground. which when you're layering things, a lot can go wrong. A lot more than just skimming a floor and putting down carpet or VCT. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? What can go wrong and how you can you keep control to prevent that?
The sandwich, as we like
the sandwich, to call it. Yeah, I think I talked about that Italian sandwich before. Yeah,
I think you're getting at a building we know well. Winthrop Tower.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts there, whether you're adding stone, and then the formula for the stone, and then the cost, and the ratios, and how much weight we're adding to a floor, and all of these things, right?
And the guy's got to be consistent, batch after batch after batch.
Yeah, and in this, and the seeding of the stone, or mixing it in the batch, depending on what you do. When you're pumping, you can't mix it in the batch, and then you have to seed it. So now you're adding a lot of labor to get 50-pound bags of stone almost.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
So it's a lot, and the key is that initial surface preparation and bond to the floor.
Yeah,
we have such tensile strength on this material that it just pulls and pulls and pulls. So getting the epoxy with the sand on those thicker sandwiches is
critical.
It's critical. It's critical. We do implement some sort of acrylic after that and try to lighten the load a little bit. But there are cases where we're, especially with toppings, where we're double epoxy and sand just for belt and suspenders, and it's probably a little more than required to do, but a lot less headache.
A lot less headache and a lot less problems. You don't want that floor to come apart. And we've all been there, and those are nightmares, and we all end up fixing them. But if we do the right thing up front, then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Also, too, in your division, the margins are typically a little larger because it's a little more specialized, except for the polishing game.
A lot more risk.
Yeah, a lot more risk. That's very good. You're very well put. There's a lot more risk, so you got to make more money at doing that. And I know
at least we try to.
Yeah, correct. Competition has gotten greater, especially in just regular polishing concrete. I know when it originally came out, the polished concrete was a specialty.
Sure. Yeah.
And when there's a specialty and you've conquered that specialty, you can usually make a few more points, but it's not a specialty anymore.
Sure.
I want you to talk a little bit about that, especially comparing non-union and union in the polishing game, because sometimes that does intertwine a little bit, doesn't it? Just polishing concrete?
It does. So we see we do blend a lot of union and non-union on the polishing side, especially because it's I don't think they categorize it as a specialty trade necessarily.
Yeah.
But it does fall under different maps, right? So
it's not all 2168.
It's not all 2168.
Okay.
Because it's actually preparation of the concrete. So you have the labor. The laborers can also
able to do that.
A lot of painters, laborers. There's a lot of same thing with resinous
at a lesser rate.
At a lesser rate, slightly lesser rate. But,
not too bad.
It does give, I guess it would give a competitive edge on some level, but same thing. The Painters Union comes in and does some resinous. Everybody's kind of got their toe dipped in the water.
Yeah.
So we do run across that, but the union to non-union market as far as polish are really night and day. You see a lot more dialed in floors on the non-union side. There seems to be a little bit more money that they're willing to spend on these really high profile floors.
Yeah.
Where I would say we get more of the production floors and corridors, big office fit outs, things of that nature. So slightly different in the sense that Dennis-Yarmouth project, that's a one-off project, right? That's you see those every once in a while where they're trying to V a terrazzo floor out.
Yeah.
And how can we get there with a very similar look? So we do get those, we do get poked for those once in a while, but it's more production work.
Yeah.
And there is a huge difference there.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference in quality, frankly.
Right.
And what's acceptable, what's not. So
yeah, and I think pretty much the only thing you guys don't do is terrazzo.
Yeah, we do not. No.
In that whole flooring realm, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's a big market there with a small field of companies that do it. So
yeah. Where do you see yourself in the company and yourself and your division? Anything new and exciting coming up in this field?
It's you just mentioned terrazzo, right? That would always be that's always a goal for everybody to try to achieve. But is
the machinery kind of the same?
Different, completely different.
Completely different. All right.
Your planetary grinding process is different. You use a lot of belt drive stuff, and it's just a very different process overall. Very different game.
And is there still basically two companies that do terrazzo in the city?
Two. We're seeing a couple more creep into the market. Yeah, it's very interesting to see that and how that's playing out. It's something I think if having the bandwidth for it, you almost need a completely separate
Division, yeah.
Or company within a company almost, because it's just such a bear to tackle. Terrazzo. There's a reason. There's only a few companies that can actually achieve some of the things that they. So beautiful floors, though. I think you and I talk about Terrazzo all the time. Gorgeous.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, and I think we did a mock-up in your showroom, didn't we?
We did. This is back before Dennis-Yarmouth, and we were training to get to Dennis-Yarmouth.
Right.
We did some beautiful cementitious Terrazzo at that point.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. But as we always, the disclaimer will be cracking and things of that nature. So But it was. I mean, you couldn't tell the difference on some of those. We got some double-sided mirror and some glass, and those are beautiful mock-ups.
Yeah, but not cheap.
Not cheap, no. And if you're going to get close to the point, to that price point,
let's go Terrazzo.
Go polymer.
Yeah, unless they keep morphing and getting better, which they will in the cement game.
Sure,
I would assume. And with Ardex and Laticrete, all the manufacturers trying to dip their toe in that arena.
Sure.
Absolutely will keep getting better.
As I always say, have some pre-mixed versions that are easy to figure out, easy to submit to a customer.
Right.
And I think that would go a long way on the cementitious side.
I agree with you 100%. You got to make it as easy as possible for the applicators if they're going to be mixing 500, 1,000 bags.
That's right.
And they got to have a formula that they got to mix every one. It's problematic. There's going to happen to be a problem along that way. Where if everything's pre-mixed, then it's really on the applicator at that point. All he has to do is follow a simple instruction.
But too many components like you said, in that 500 bag day or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Adding too many pieces to that puzzle is just it's inevitable. Doesn't matter how fatigued it will just get you to the point where there are going to be a few mistakes.
Absolutely. How many typically people do you have in your division, and how many jobs are you typically working on at any given day?
Oh man, there's a lot.
I know it's every day is different.
Every day is different. We generally, our sweet spots probably 30 plus, 30, 35 installers in the field. Right now, I think we're hovering around 50. I could be wrong. I'll probably get a phone call after this telling me I'm wrong. I think we're right around 50 right now. And projects, remember, part of what we do is, in a lot of the larger companies, we can do everything from that patch in the hallway to a 15-story, 20-story building plus. So we're doing everything. We're sending an installer to an occupied space sometimes to do a patch in an epoxy floor. So we're as far as jobs on the books, it's too many to count at any given time.
Right, and as the year was winding down now, how was your year?
We had a great year. Usually this time of year, we're winding down.
Yeah.
And we had some schedule issues throughout the year, a lot of jobs that got pushed.
Yeah.
So now it's our Q4 and end of the year. We can't breathe at the moment, which is unusual for this time of year. Yeah.
Is that one of those good problems to have?
Good problem to have, except when everybody tailors their vacations around this time of year, because we're all trying to take a little time off. And,
sure.
Yeah, so that's difficult, but it is a good problem. It's a great problem.
And how's your backlog going up next year?
Great. We're into 27.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have jobs booked through, again, early Q1 27, but still into 27.
And how has costs been affected? You're holding jobs price-wise into 27. What is the cost of materials looking like going with all the talk out there in the world?
You never know, right? It's different all the time, but we try to escalate the best we can and predict the escalation. With resinous, we're pretty well locked in. We get a good idea of when those costs are going to increase. There's standard increases on a regular basis, except for when shortages happen or times like COVID, right? Unprecedented times in this country and the world, right? That change or drastically raise everything. So, but barring that, I think we account pretty well for escalation. It's not easy though. Yeah, we make a lot of deals, you know.
Yeah, no, it's not easy as you say, but I think it's apparent to me that your time with Allegheny has been great. Actually, I think your time with Pavilion was great, and I think has a lot to do with yourself as a person, yourself as a salesperson, yourself as a manager. I always say people like to deal with nice people. People like to deal with people they like to deal with. And if I want to go out and have a beer with you, then we we get along. We want to be friends. And is everybody in this business, a lot of people in this business that you don't want to go out and have a beer with.
That's right, yeah.
And Dan, you're one of those guys.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate that. You're fair, you're honest, you do the right thing, which a lot of times is not a big deal, not a lot to ask, but doesn't happen often. And it does with you. And I appreciate everything you've done for me and the business we've done over the years. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is something new and venture for me, and it's kind of so far so good. Anything else you want to put in as an ending to the podcast here?
Well, Mike, I thank you for the kind sentiment words.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I feel the same about you. I consider you one of my mentors.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We've been through a lot together, and I always look forward to a lot less these days. You're living life. You're loving life right now. But a lot less. But I always look forward to we used to have conversations often,
and we still do, not as much.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And I got 3 quick questions for you.
Sure.
And end this podcast with what's your favorite ice cream?
Oh man, cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had that one before. What's your favorite ethnic food to eat?
Oh, I'd have to go Japanese. Just all
Japanese.
All
good for you.
Yeah.
And where's your favorite place to vacation?
Well, we do a family vacation up to Stowe, Vermont. Nice. That would have to be that's it.
Family vacations are awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. We're going up next week.
Awesome, great. You're a great family man, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Flooring Podcast. You can find the show on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your shows. Mike, will you be back in 2 weeks? Do you promise?
I do.
We'll see you then. Thanks again for listening to the Flooring Podcast.